It's a weekly call. Today is September 23rd, 2024. We broadcast live every Monday from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're listening live over if you're listening over our Rumble or YouTube or another network, and you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, you can go to nationallibertyalliance.org and click on our weekly call for instructions to join us live by phone, app, or browser. If anyone would like to email a question, you can send your questions to questions@nationallibertyalliance.org. Please support our business partners. You can find their banners on the right-hand side of the website, of which the proceeds go to support NLA's efforts to save our republic. Also, please support NLA by donating $5 a month or more. Click on our donation tab, top right side of our website. Okay, we're going to start off with scripture reading. Tonight we're going to be in the epistle of 1 Peter, chapter 1, read by Alexander Scorby.
The first epistle general of Peter, chapter 1. Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit, unto obedience and sprinkling of the blood of Jesus Christ, grace unto you and peace be multiplied. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, which according to his abundant mercy hath begotten us again unto a lively hope by the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you, who are kept by the power of God through faith unto salvation ready to be revealed in the last time, wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ, whom having not seen ye love, in whom, though now ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. Of which salvation the prophets have inquired and searched diligently, who prophesied of the grace that should come unto you, searching what manner of time the Spirit of Christ which was in them did signify, when it testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ, and the glory that should follow, unto whom it was revealed that not unto themselves, but unto us they did minister the things which are now reported unto you by them that have preached the gospel unto you with the Holy Ghost sent down from heaven, which things the angels desire to look into. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind, be sober, and hope to the end for the grace that is to be brought unto you at the revelation of Jesus Christ, as obedient children, not fashioning yourselves according to the former lusts in your ignorance, but as he which hath called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of conversation, because it is written, Be ye holy, for I am holy. And if ye call on the Father, who without respect of persons judgeth according to every man's work, pass the time of your sojourning here in fear. Forasmuch as ye know that ye were not redeemed with corruptible things, as silver and gold, from your vain conversation received by tradition from your fathers, but with the precious blood of Christ, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot, who verily was foreordained before the foundation of the world, but was manifest in these last times for you, who by him do believe in God, that raised him up from the dead and gave him glory, that your faith and hope might be in God. Seeing ye have purified your souls in obeying the truth through the Spirit unto unfeigned love of the brethren, see that ye love one another with a pure heart fervently, being born again not of corruptible seed, but of incorruptible, by the word of God, which liveth and abideth forever. For all flesh is as grass, and all the glory of man as the flower of grass. The grass withereth, and the flower thereof falleth away. But the word of the Lord endureth forever. And this is the word which by the gospel is preached unto you.
Okay, Jan, do we have any questions tonight or any announcements?
Yes, we have a fairly large number of questions, long questions. The first one is simple. It's from the Secretary for Burnett County Committee of Safety in Texas. And they want to know, is there a certain protocol for opening a checking account? Now, we've covered that at different times, but it keeps coming up, so I guess people don't have the word yet, so it's worth going over again. Anything specific to your organization recommends? I was going to just get a DBA at the courthouse here in Burnett County. I guess my concern was what box to check, since we aren't an LLC or an LPC or a corporation. Is there a specific category I file is under?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, you don't want to be a corporation. If anything, you'd want to be a trust, but opening a trust in a bank is quite difficult. They do pose some problems. A lot of times, I know when I tried to open it, I got lucky in one bank, but I tried in a couple other banks prior, and they wanted to know details of the inner part of the trust, which is private in the business. So that was a problem. But I was doing it for other purposes, not for running a committee of safety or anything of that nature. I don't think there's really a need for a bank account for the committee's safety. There will be a need of a bank account which will work something else out, which will be a trust for the administrators, because they're going to have to deal with money that comes from the controller and salary, paychecks, and so on. But as far as committees of safety, I'm suggesting, matter of fact, next week I think we're going to go through the resolutions. I've updated the resolution dramatically from what I had originally posted at time. That paperwork was done quite some time ago, and things have changed. Knowledge has advanced in our understanding of things, and so I'm a little more specific and added quite a few things to the committees of safety for details on how to run things. And one of the things we talk about in there, which people have to decide on their own on certain things, such as, how you're going to collect money to operate certain things, the necessities. For instance, from time to time, you're going to have to get some things printed off, and you're going to have to do some mailings and various other things. Maybe someone, there's quite a few different things. I'll try to make a list of some of the things that might cost some money. Next week, I want to go through this new resolution, which is really adding to the older one and making some changes, but I'm going to add to that. But what I'm suggesting is, and again, I'm working right now on getting a committee of safety started here in my county, and hopefully I'll be meeting in a couple of weeks to really start the true initiation of that committee of safety. And we'll go through first order of business, really. Once you do an introduction to people, first order of business is to create a resolution. And so a listing of resolutions, and then also a charter. And so, again, I'm going to be sharing that next week. But when it comes down to the money, there's two ways to go. You can pass the can around for donations. I don't think that's a good way to go. I think we should figure out dues, where people who join the membership pay maybe $10 a month, which is what I'm suggesting. But again, each committee of safety have to figure that out on their own. And that money, it's not going to be lots of money, but it will be some cash, of course, and the treasurer is going to be responsible for keeping hold of that cash and making an accounting of it. We're not going to be dealing with the IRS, after next year. They're going to be gone because they're unlawful, unconstitutional, and we're going to be brought back to the Republic, which is the plan. The IRS has got to go. And a lot of changes need to be made. We need to go back to gold and silver and so on. But again, it's not a tremendous amount of money. Cash is probably the best way just to hold on to it. need not really put into a bank account because it's not going to account for that much money, I don't believe. Anyway, I suggest not to get a bank account for committees of safety. But again, on the administrators, they're going to need a bank account because they're going to be allotted a certain amount of money from the controller on the county level, and they're going to have to give an account to that money probably on a quarterly basis. I think that's what's required by law. And then a final accounting, of course, at the end of the year before the next budget starts and whatever money is left over, so on and so forth. Being honest people, which is what our committees of safety will be, there will be money left over probably at the end of each budget, which I don't know of any place doing business under the for the government where anybody is controlling money that they have leftover monies that they might want to give back or take less the following budget for the next year and so on and so forth. So, but again, I strongly suggest not to do that. Definitely do not incorporate. Corporations are the problems. That's not who we are. We're the people. We're not corporations. And again, if you really have to do it for some reason, I don't know why, a trust would be the way to go. We do teach people how to do a trust. You can find that, I believe, under Education Starts Here. Come down to law, and then on to court forms and process. And you could learn here how to open up a common law trust right there, so you can get that information. So, but again, I don't think it's needed. Next question. You're muted if you're talking.
Yes. This came up 2 weeks ago, and you weren't there, and the person wanted specifically a comment from you on it. It's interesting. According to the law, and please give the law if you can, foreign agents are to register, correct? So would it be the case that all bar attorneys should register as foreign agents?
I think all bar attorneys should be in jail. I mean, maybe that's a little but
you're expounding.
But any one of them that are working for the government, I think probably should be in jail for sure. Look at bar attorneys. The purpose of a bar attorney is really to destroy the republic, and that's their purpose. They destroyed England, and then in 1750, the king sent armies of bar attorneys in order to destroy our really our law. We weren't, of course, a nation at that point. We were still colonies, but they were trying to destroy the court system that we had. They were already destroying there in England, and they were setting up chancery courts. And that's exactly what we have these days. We have chancery courts. A chancery court is where a judge comes in and makes the law off the cuff. I mean, they can apply the statutes, they can apply the rules, they can apply their own logic, and because literally that's what they do. They ignore, the Constitution. They ignore your rights. They're judge, jury, and executioner, and that's unfortunately where we're at right now. A lot of people that have not entered into the courts have no clue about this, and they find it hard to believe. But I can assure you that is the state of affairs in our courts of injustice, which we have to turn around to courts of justice. And we talked about filing a paper soon, and we looked into that last week. If anybody missed that, I think it's important to go listen to that one. You can find it under today's issues and come down to NLA Monday Open Forum videos. And we read highlights from our paper, which is a presentment to the United States Supreme Court in order to restore our courts of justice. So this is a video that if people were not here last week, you really should listen to this. I encourage that very strongly. Also, we posted up here. This is this was not a Monday night program, but this was a recording that I did, which National Liberty Alliance presents Government by Consent. So that's up there too. But that's also found on our front page of our website. The first thing people see. It's an hour long, and it gives a really good presentation in a nutshell on NLA's plan and how we're putting it together. But again, I did notice that there are some people who are creating committees of safety and are being taken off track by people coming in with different agendas and focusing in areas where there's no need to focus, but they're not really set up in a way to focus in on these things yet, such as maybe dealing with the problems with the elections, which, by the way, Trump has that totally under control. That's already being dealt with. But what we have to focus in on is taking government back, starting at the local level. There's no other way to do it. You can't come and just try to make changes without power, without authority, without a track record, and without the ability to require these people to be obedient. And a lot of those things are not going to take place until next year after the change of the administration. But nevertheless, there is some power and authority you can get on your local level, as long as you can get the sheriff on your side and get him going along with that. We're going to discuss that in more detail over the coming weeks. Because again, I'm going to do some short videos and try to keep them as short as possible, maybe a half hour to 45 minutes maybe, different segments of the different things that the committees of safety need to do to get started, and get going, starting with, of course, the charter, and then working with resolutions. Well, shall I say working with resolutions first, and then the charter, and then or how to approach the sheriff and so on. We have a lot of handbooks on that, which we'll make reference to give more in-depth information, but at least get the basics going so that we're all on the same page, we're all doing the same things, and the two most important things we could do is to create the Committee of Correspondence and the Education Committee. Those are the two most important things for numerous reasons, and we'll get into those details probably next week or the week after. Okay. What's the next question?
While taking the law course, John said that Muslims, Jews, and Christians use the same Old Testament, as if we all worship the same God. Muslims serve a different God. Problems also exist with Jews who are taught and live by the Talmud, which is the word of man. These people do not serve our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I would like to hear John's answer to these questions. 1, how do you justify your statement that Muslims use the Old Testament and therefore serve the same God as Christians? And 2, have you ever read the Quran?
Well, I never said that they serve the same God as Christians. I did say that they did share the Old Testament, and that does give them a little bit of advantage from individuals who don't even look at the Bible at all, and maybe atheists or whatever. But look, there's only one true God. I've never made any statement beyond that, of course, or added anything else, so I don't know what they're talking about specifically. Maybe they just misunderstood me. But we do all share the Old Testament. And the other thing is not to be assaultive upon people of different groups, so I'm not going to comment directly. I mean, look, you're either serving Christ or you're serving Satan. There's two kingdoms, the kingdom of God and the kingdom of Satan. And anybody who is not of God or serving God is serving the ruler of this world, because we're focusing in on the flesh. But again, this is not the place to get too deep into that kind of a conversation. We do have Bible studies on Wednesdays, and if people would want to ask some questions there, we can get into great detail into the Bible and so on. Next question.
I'm starting a COS in my county. We have had about a dozen people come and go in the last 3 to 4 months. I'm trying to get at least 4 to 6 people that are committed to NLA and COS protocol, even though we do not discourage other organizations. I've not been able to get the 4 officer seats filled to go forward. It seems everyone is bringing a different approach to the table that they say will work. As I have been in the Patriot community for 20 years, I do not see any other sane, common sense approaches besides NLA and the COS. The latest approaches are Re-Inhabited Republic for the United States of America and the John Birch Society. Can you give me any feedback on either one of these organizations?
Well, I think the John Birch Society has been taken over a very long time ago. They do a lot of good things. They talk about a lot of good things, but they don't do anything to fix the problem, and they refuse to get involved in the political process. And I think that's by design, by someone coming in and kind of causing that kind of a problem, because they say, "Oh, we can't get involved in politics." Well, National Liberty Alliance doesn't get involved in politics. We have no desire to get involved with politics, and we don't teach people to get involved with politics. But we do get involved with the political process, and we teach people how to get involved with the political process. And government by consent, the epitome of government by consent is the Committees of Safety. Committees of Safety are or is government by consent. So that's what we do teach. As far as Republic, I'm going to be speaking with an individual on that hopefully Wednesday. I believe we have an appointment. Well, I know we have an appointment on Wednesday. So maybe I can comment some more on that on Wednesday. I mean on next Monday, but certainly not prior before I have that conversation. Next. Mute on, mute off.
This is from a person who's trying to get a land patent or privatize their land, and they've been sending in questions every week almost. We have been trying to reclassify, redeclare our property as private, as John suggests. Ultimately, we would like to procure a land patent, but John claimed it is not entirely necessary. We've been dealing with the county real estate office and have had back and forth contention, for a lack of a better word. We have dealt with things from ignorance to lack of response to the real estate attorney trying to intimidate, and any responses received were not relevant to our cause. Whether failure or success, we want to create an evidentiary record and keep you well informed. I know that there are those that have had their property privatized and unencumbered out there, and any help either from NLA or its listeners would be appreciated. The subject should become a workshop matter for NLA someday because of its frequent expounding.
Well, you know, that land patent process that people are going through, basically, if I understand it correctly, they're really going back with the metes and bounds and making a record, which is already done. And I'm sure there are probably some other things and statements that go into that. I don't have much or any knowledge of that process. I know that some have been involved with that. I suggest if people really want to try to do this, you're going to get as much problem there as you're going to get here anyway, doing private property by trying to just change it on, change the term, get away from residential to private property. But they still might even try to tax you anyway and still try to steal your property and so on and so forth. But I have suggested to people really to kind of hang in there and wait till next year, because that's going to be gone. You know, if you're paying attention, or those who have knowledge and understand and or believe that the devolution is in play and we're going to receive our republic back next year, the problem, it gets back to really something that Benjamin Franklin said when he was asked, well, what kind of a government do we have? And he says, well, a republic, if you can keep it. Well, I say the same thing to the people today. People don't know how to have government by consent. Therein is the purpose of National Liberty Alliance, to teach people how to have government by consent. And many hands make light work, number one. United we stand, divided we fall. You have to get together with people within your counties and start to build these committees of safety. And little by little, over time, things will work out, and you'll be able to take back your government, starting from the ground up. You don't start on the top; that's not possible. You start from the ground up. You can't put the cart before the horse. So it's important to realize that. Now, there was another part of a question. I think it was a question before this. Trying to think, because it came to my mind here that I didn't really cover. Anyway, when I think of it, I'll I'll make note of it. Anyway, I suggest, by the time you go through this fight and battle, we're going to be on the other side. So again, people need to work that out.
Don?
Yeah.
I would just like to mention when I talked to Robert Overhill back in the day, he was always looking and he was attempting to trace the original land grant for Michigan through each person. And so he would go back to the guy he bought it from and then look for the guy he bought it from, all the way back to where it was the land patent of the initial issue. And that's what they were trying to do. Am I wrong on that?
Well, I don't think there's any need of that. It's private property. You purchased the property, at least you believe or think you purchased the property instead of renting it the way they laid it out. So that whole thing is all fraud to begin with. There's no need for that. You buy a piece of property, you get the meets and bounds, it describes that property, you own that property. Well, ultimately, God owns your property because you can't take it with you anyway. But the thing is, you own that property as long as you're here on this earth. Yeah, there's really no need to do that. And again, I know we've looked at that. Gerard's looked at that, and some people have worked at it. I don't know if anybody has succeeded in that. I'm sure there's much resistance as you get trying to turn property into private property. But anyway, I would say to people, look, things are going to turn around next year on all of these things as far as unlawful things like taxes on property, taxes on income, which is called a direct tax. If you have to pay tax on property and you don't pay it and they take it away from you, well, you just don't own it, do you? Well, that's the system they set up. You don't own your property. So we think you do, but you don't. But on the other side, that's all fraud anyway, so on the other side, you do own your property. So just wait, we're only a couple of months away. I think people need to be spending their time learning government by consent, organizing committees of safety, and getting them moving. Oh, I know what I wanted to cover. One person was talking about having problems getting people going in different directions, so on and so forth. Well, that is a problem. And we have become aware of that problem. It's not a new problem. People come in and hijack movements all the time. People come in with other agendas and things that you create trying to do things. People are free and independent to do what they want, but I'll tell you, one of the problems that we're going to have to deal with is this problem with people hijacking and taking it a different direction. So if we discover a committee of safety that is really going rogue and going down the wrong path, we'll just remove the information and contact information from our directory and look for another individual to spark up a committee of safety within their county and go forward. Now, we don't want to be dictators of these things in any way, but we are looking into history. We're looking to what our founding fathers have given us. We're looking into the Constitution, and we put this together because this is what our founding fathers did. Paul Revere belonged to a committee of safety. He belonged to the Committee of Correspondence. Every one of our founding fathers and everyone that was involved in bringing this whole thing together, 200 and some odd years ago, all of those people belonged to committees of safety, and that's how they created this great nation. They met together and had and legislated for themselves when England didn't take care of that purpose, that situation, getting proper laws and putting things into place. Well, they did it themselves, and they did that through committees of safety. So they filled in the gap of what the British government did not care for. And so the committees of safety really started the revolution. The first Continental Congress was called together and spoken to and dealt with by the committees of safety of the colonies. Second Continental Congress also, which produced the Declaration of Independence. The committees of safety, through committees of safety, we ran a Revolutionary War, and we debated the Constitution through the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, and we produced founding documents, which was to rest upon the Declaration of Independence and the bill and its capstone Bill of Rights. And then we continued to have government by consent to control that government through committees of safety. So this is what we're resurrecting. And if people want to put their own little thing into that and take it another direction, all I can say is just cut that person off. And if that whole group goes astray, go start another one, make notice to us. We'll talk to those individuals, and if we can't reel them back in, then we'll just blot their names off of the directory and put new people in place. It is extremely important that we follow the process of our founding fathers. It is extremely important that we also have the same kind of an ideas with our resolutions and setting this whole system up and coming up with our charter. Now, of course, people can make changes in those things. You're going to add to it. We definitely can't foresee the problems of every county, but we can foresee the problems that have taken place in general, and we can put that structure together in order to create the Committee of Safety with certain concerns and things we have to watch and things we have to really make sure that we do, able to really organize in a proper way so that each Committee of Safety needs to be able to communicate with each other. Each Committee of Safety, especially on the political things, on the political side of things, so the political subdivision needs to definitely be organized in a proper fashion. And that's organization, the organization of that part of that subcommittee is already in motion through committeeman process, which is statutory. The problem with that, of course, is that it's controlled by statutes, party bosses, and created by the Bar Association for the sole purpose to destroy our political process and to restrain, in order to give us the decision of to choose for an individual running for office, whether it be the criminal on the right or the criminal on the left. It makes no difference to them. They move little by little closer and closer to slavery, and we're at the precipice of losing our republic. But I am absolutely convinced that that's not going to happen, and that we will gain back our republic. So all I can say is, stay in there, stick in there. I was able to talk to, I believe it was 28 people this past last week in my county as a group, an existing group that is very active. I want to speak to them. And it looks like we're going to be starting a Committee of Safety. I think we're going to get all 28 people. Plus, I have some more people I'm going to go speak to try to reel them into the system. But they got it. They get it. They see that this is the way to go. And we need to take back our school districts, the boards, the school boards. We need to take back the town boards, the city boards, the village boards, and government all the way up the line. We need to take our county back. We need to take our state back. We need to take our federal government back. But it all starts from the bottom working up. And there is a process and a procedure. And you have to have, some of the first order of businesses, like I said, which we're going to discuss this more in detail next week and the week after, and probably quite a few weeks to come, going through this whole process of building a Committee of Safety from each point. But we have to be compatible. And I don't think, when I'm going to read these papers next week, I don't think that there's anything in there that people could disagree with. It's all common sense. But, people can tweak things a little bit different. Definitely you can add to it because, again, we don't know all the problems. We can look at the problems that we all have problems with and again, structure us correctly. A lot of these problems in Congress, for instance, is that the chairman has power beyond a regular member, and that should not be. Okay, look at the chairman has a vote, just like anyone else, no different than anyone else. What happens, though, is these chairmen, they're controlled by the New World Order anyway, by the deep state, the New World Order. They'll refuse to bring certain things to the floor, so they'll block it and not let it happen. That's a wrongdoing, and that cannot happen with committees of safety. And we've written some things up to make sure that that does not happen. The purpose of the chairman is just to maintain order, keep things going along, letting each person know your time's up or whose turn is next, and make sure he gets through the whole thing and never refuse to bring anything to the floor by one of its members. And they have one vote just like anyone else. And if that chairman's doing a good job and they're not abusing anything or trying to create some power that isn't there, well, we're writing up in our resolutions, ultimately, that the chairman can be replaced at any time by popular vote, period. You don't need 2/3 of anything, just popular vote, and you just change chairman. Maybe some groups will want to change the chairman maybe once a year or a couple of times or every couple of years. I don't know. It's up to the people. They can figure out what they want to do. I say if you have a person in there that's a good chairman and you've got a co-chair and you've got a secretary, I don't know that you want to change the secretary or the treasurer very often at all. And so I don't see a reason if the chairman is doing a good job, well, hey, let's just keep it going. So anyway, these are important things to be written in. And also, you can't bring in proxy votes. You go into the committeeman process, the statutory process, they win every vote that they want. They get everything done what they want because someone shows up with proxy votes, so they count the votes in the back room. Hey, get the meeting going. We're going back and count them. No, you take a vote in public, raising a hand, you make the count. You know what's going on. That's it. You move on. These are the kind of things and the problems that we definitely don't want. And again, I think I don't think anybody would argue with these kind of things. But, the reason for really starting to look deep into this and recording it and talking about it on a Monday program is for people to come up and say, hey, wait, I don't think that's a good idea. I think it should be said this way, or it shouldn't be said at all, or you should say it that way. And we can talk about it and think about it and try to make something even fairer and more logical. But again, the bottom line, committees of safety are free and independent. National Liberty Alliance is going to make no control or does not desire to have any control over them. We can't know their personal, county problems and even some state problems. We can't know those things that's going on there. But basically, generically, there are things that we do have to deal with, and we can structure things properly and be compatible so that we can work together. One more point: the political subcommittee. The political subcommittee has to deal with about 5 different, probably is about 5, maybe 6 different political subdivisions. You have the congressional subdivision, for instance. If you're on, let's take the federal side of things. So you want to, choose a person to support that for Congress, let's say, but that runs into counties. Okay, so you have to work things out with another county. You might have 2 or 3 other counties that has the same representatives as your county does. So you have to break up meetings for that purpose in order to do interviews for that particular subdivision. And anybody that is affected by that congressman in that particular subdivision is encouraged to join in and listen and participate in quizzing these people that are running for office. We also want to require across the board that these people know the Constitution. We need to quiz them in the Constitution. We need to make sure that these people understand the common law, and they need to understand. Matter of fact, I'm writing it up right now that people are required to take the course court access in the common law, because it teaches due process, it teaches the common law, it teaches the Constitution, and all of that is necessary for anyone that's in elected office to understand. They don't have to be a whiz at it, but they have to understand it. They have to have some kind of a relationship in their mind on how we are structured politically and judicially. And so for that reason, people should be required, if you're going to walk someone's papers and get a petition out there to put that person on the ballot, you're going to want to make sure that they know those things. You want to make sure that they understand that we're going to watch you like a hawk. You break your oath, we're going to notify you immediately. And if you repent and turn and do the right thing, fine. And if not, we're going to recall you. We need to make sure these people understand that before we back them up to get them onto the ballot. So there's a lot involved in the political subcommittees, the political committees. So we're going to get into more detail of that again in the coming weeks. All right, I think I got the answer to the question. Next question.
I followed all of John's protocols for a citation, but the court ignored it all, including an affidavit of default. which was not returned to me, even though I mailed a stamped, self-addressed envelope with it. Instead of notifying me, the court contacted Tennessee Driver Services and had my license suspended. What should be my next move? Would I be able to go after their bonds at this point?
Well, you could try, not that you're going to succeed. That is the proper process, and you followed the proper procedure to get out of their system, I presume. I don't know how your paperwork, was written up or anything, but it sounds like you did what's necessary. But if you listen, I'm always saying all the time, these people are evil. It's not likely that you're going to get through these courts cases and win them because they're going up against the status quo. They've done everything to me to prevent me from getting through the same process, to coming out of a town court, and even to the point of, threatening me with an arrest and so on and so forth. But I was able to get it up into the Supreme Court. I was able to, in our case, New York State Supreme Court, and it's moving through the process. It's not complete yet either, so we'll see where we go. But I always tell people, look, if you do it a case, a good chance you're not going to win, but at least you're making your case and you're preparing it, and you could deal with it on the other side of devolution because you can resurrect it. And you can go after the judges at that point. We intend on going after a lot of judges, hundreds of judges. We've indicted lots of judges, and we intend on pursuing those indictments. I intend on, in my own personal cases, there's probably about 6 or 7 judges that I want to go after personally, that I'm going to sue because of what they've done in their abuse. And they've blocked in other courts, the appellate courts and or so on, all the way up. They all protect each other. They tighten up, and you just can't get through the system and get justice done because we don't have courts of justice. We haven't had courts of justice for quite some time, and it's at a point where they just totally make everything up they want right off the bench, and they do it without any fear or concern. And to my opinion, that's evil, and they'll pay the price eventually. The justice will catch up with them. So next year. Next.
Okay. This is about my appeal of the Board of Civil Authority to the Superior Court of Vermont. I have done my due diligence and have run into a snag. I stated before about the tax issue from the town I live in and the various problems I'm having with the assessment, an illegal $80,000 increase to start. By the way, I did do as was stated in the class and book. I put all my cards on the table with my pleadings, docketing, statement, and brief, so lawyers cannot drag it out, but it appears they are. Now my question, I received the document on Saturday stating that the paperwork in its entirety will be sent back to the town, not by a judge but a clerk, with no explanation at all. There was a signature, but I have no idea what the person is. It could have been a janitor for all I know. No title was given. I expected a judge's signature. I was told by the clerk the following Monday the town has to do the submitting. What is my next step? I tried confrontation of the court and the town clerk, as they are not following the rules and giving them the file on demand documents as a warning. I tried that and they refused to accept it. I submitted to the town as the rules, Rule 74 stated, submitted my documentation on time to the town. Then I went to the court days later and submitted the rest of my paperwork because of time limits that exist, meaning docketing, statement, and brief, and that is when I found out the town had not sent the second appeal to the court. I went to the town clerk and was told we are waiting, after speaking with the lawyer, the full 30 days to submit to the court. They have no reason to do so, and I'm not sure if they can, as I find nothing in the law to say they can, only my limitations, like having docketing, statement, and brief submitted within 14 days of filing my appeal. They just are holding onto all my documentation for the court. As far as I can see and find, nothing gets done until that paperwork is submitted by the town. How can I force this to be done? If you say, to force the court yourself, so to speak. And I cannot, if I cannot even get a chance to say a word in court, I'm really at a loss. And I'm unsure of what form or motion or whatever to use. I did not expect this help. By the way, they say, get a lawyer. No, I believe, but again, find no law or rule to support that claim. Their lawyer is lying to them.
Well, let me ask, because I didn't pick it up. Well, what is this case about? Did they say what it was in the beginning? What kind of case?
Yeah, this was an illegal $80,000 increase in their assessment on their property, I might assume.
Gotcha. All right. Look at, again, learning the process is one thing. Learning to write is another thing. Learning the strategies and understanding of what's happening in particular areas of the law, whatever the case is about, is also another thing. All that takes time to absorb and put together. But even if you're really good at it, you're not going to win these cases. You're just not going to win them. Again, I keep saying the same thing. Wait till we get to the other side of devolution. There's not going to be taxes on property no more. It's unlawful. Trump said, I didn't get elected to get power to myself, but to give it back to the people where it belongs. And that's his intention. That means to bring our republic back. National Liberty Alliance, through the Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury, has done everything it can in the courts, starting back in 2015. Matter of fact, I think we were filing papers in 2014. But we've been working, and for the sole purpose of getting our courts of justice back. Everything we did was leading us towards that process, building a case against them, showing that they are guilty, constantly of collusion, of conspiracy. Because no matter what they do, whether it's a court in California or in Texas, New York, or Pennsylvania, it does not matter. They all do the same thing. They all make up the same lying law, fraudulent law, things that don't even exist. They interpret rules in many different ways, whatever serves them the best, or they'll ignore rules altogether. They'll deny your rights, your unalienable rights. They'll deny the Constitution, which protects those rights. That's what they do, and that's what they're going to continue to do. We're up against evil, from my opinion. We're up against the deep state, which is controlled by the New World Order. And again, if we weren't blessed really by the things that have been happening these past 8 or 9 years since Trump has been running, particularly, we'd all be slaves today, because as Barack Obama said in a White House dinner before in 2016, where he predicted Hillary Clinton is going to win the presidency, and stated that the end of the republic has never looked better. That's what he said. And that's what their intention was. The next 8 years was to destroy that and probably bring us to war, destroy the economy, make us debtors that we could never pay back, and enslave us, and just literally kill anybody who goes up against them. So that was their plan. That was foiled. And devolution is in play. Some people don't believe or see enough evidence of that, or haven't looked into it, and that's okay. Do what you can, but next year you're going to see a big change. So we're up against that. That's the battle we're up against. It's difficult to win anything in these courts. But again, your cases can be resurrected next year, but in this case, there's not going to be any taxes on property anyway, so it's just not going to exist. So all I can say is hang in there. A few more months. Next.
Okay, this is another question from the privatization issue. Those responding to the claim claim that there are no provisions that include privatizing one's property. And they say we're not imploring provisions, but an expressed prohibitions that directly forbid one from declaring property private or personal. The day after calling and speaking with the secretary at the real estate development, I left him a message for the manager, once again, to please respond to us. When I got home from work, there was a message from the county real estate attorney to call, and so I did, and spoke with him a few minutes. I had to refresh his memory on the subject and got down to the point of asking him directly on the phone if he had any knowledge of such prohibitive statutes. He told me that he was not aware of any immediate statutes, and I insisted that since there is nothing prohibitive, why can't we just proceed? He said that he cannot give legal advice, but briefly suggested that this might be a case in the county court of common pleas. He also said that it might be a bit insurmountable, but if a favorable decision was granted, then we might be able to succeed and be recognized by the county as private. I did not want to let this issue go by the wayside and will persist. I was considering that avenue of affidavits. Can these be used to put any pressure on the county judiciary or any individual for that matter? And do you suggest mailing them or having a sheriff's deputy serve them? And can they be mailed to the sheriff's office for service?
Well, again, yeah, I guess you could work something out with serving through the sheriff's office by mailing it to them and so on. But I wouldn't do it that way. I would take it personally down and get a stamp seal and paperwork together, make sure it's done right, prima facie from their perspective, and then let the serving go through. But again, it's the same answer I've given tonight and been given week after week, because this comes up often concerning this change of property title and or property tax. It's not worth the battle at this point. A couple of more months, things are going to change. Wait till after devolution. Again, if people want to pursue it, it's their business. It's an uphill battle, but you need to understand who and what you're up against. You know, if you're going to go into court, you got to be ready that as soon as you find out who that judge is, that you don't really want a judge, but you're going to get a judge anyway. And you need to look into that judge and find out, you know, his past background. You can look judges up and get a lot of information on them. You need to understand what you're up against and what their strategies might be. You need to understand how to write a good paper. A lot of people, I look at papers that I've written when I go all the way back in the beginning and trying to figure things out, putting things together and filing papers, and then eventually come to certain knowledge through really a lot of experience, you know, the school of hard knocks, so to speak. But I look at my earlier papers, which I had done papers going back into the courts a little bit before I started here with National Liberty Alliance's papers, because we did things with the Committeeman going into the courts, and I had some experience with the courts, a little bit anyway, as a contractor. And but I look at my paperwork, my old paperwork, and it looks like a child wrote it, because I had a child's mind from the standpoint of going into the law. I did not have any experience. I really didn't understand not only the process and the procedure, but the character of what I'm up against. So, and as you learn these things, that takes time. Okay, and then you learn to write papers more powerfully, and so a lot of it is in the power of the paper writing. But even with that, they don't like the fact that you question them. They don't like the fact that you're trying to upset the cart. They don't like that at all, and they get vicious, really vicious, and they go after you in different ways. And if they can get to you monetarily wise, or even find you in contempt, they will do it. So you do have to be careful not to push too far with these things, number one, less not on this side of devolution. But again, a lot of these cases need to really wait until the next year. And we intend on bringing, really resurrecting all the cases that have attached to us. We do have a page where people can attach an affidavit to us, but they have to follow the instructions that we've given. You can find it under today's issues and click on Stuck in an Abusive Court, and you can read this information of the different examples of injuries, you know, mortgage foreclosures, tax foreclosures, denial of due process, unlawful imprisonment, denial of habeas corpus, denial of your right to travel, hijacked into family court, hijacked into probate court, denial of any other unalienable right. So you follow the instructions here in writing an affidavit. If you got a case, we put a little information how to make reference to that case within that affidavit, and then we'll attach it to our paperwork on our final serving, because after our final serving, we're going to collect together all of these cases and push them forward. But it's going to be up to the people to really get back into their own courts. What we're going to do is help resurrect their case, and then they have to get in there and battle it. But people need experience on writing, and the best way to get experience on writing is read cases. And the best cases to read are common law cases, people who are making common law positions. And where do you find such kind of cases? Well, you find it right on our website under federal court cases. And you go in for the action against the judiciary. We have the grand jury docket in here. We have a lot of information, but right here against the jury. This is against, let's see, the judiciary, which is coming to the finale of this case. But these are all the papers we've written. We've got lots of papers on all of these different kinds of cases. We have lots of memorandums in here, which gives a great deal of knowledge on the law. You can cut and paste these things. I think we put them all up in Microsoft Word. I'm pretty sure we did. Well, these are PDFs. I'm sorry. No, it's PDFs. You're going to have to work your way around in those things to get to carry across into your Word document the footnotes. But I believe you can open up PDFs if you have a program, and then you can carry the necessary information along with the footnotes and put it into Microsoft Word. But if not, then you have to cut and paste them all separately and set them together. But and you want all your cases that you fight and every kind of a legal or lawful position that you want to make in the courts, you need to bring a lot of footnotes to play with that, and that's where the power and the authority comes from, is bringing out the authority. And we don't rest on statutes; we rest on law, the common law, common sense. But we will use statutes, of course, to control them, because the statutes apply to them. So whenever that's the case, we apply it. If we're on this side of devolution, any cases that we ran, when it comes to their rules, we might agree with a rule and make note of a rule, but we'll make note of the same thing. Is the only reason we're applying that rule is because they've got it written down, and it is not repugnant to the rules of the common law. And it's in agreement with the rules of the common law, therefore we'll apply it. But we don't agree with their rules. Their rules are repugnant. They're unlawful. It's not part of the common law process. It's a statute made up, and they interpret it any way they want anyway. So anyway, you can attach your case to affidavit. You read the instructions on that page. Today's issues, stuck in an abusive court. You'll also find a way to get here on the right-hand side of the website where you see that picture, this little clown there with his cape and hammer, All right, next question.
That's the end, John. You're all done.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of those were repeated, or are they just being repeated every week by different people, or again, or what?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, we're going to go into our queue. Anybody has a question or a comment or a correction to be offered? You can get into the queue, star 6 and a 1 if you're on a phone, and if you got an app or a browser, there should be a button to get into the queue. So we'll start off with our first caller here. Looks like Teresa. What state you from, Teresa? You got the mic. Is it Teresa?
Is Teresa Kennedy? Can you hear me?
Yeah, that's it. But you're too far from your mic. You got to get closer to your mic. We can't barely hear you.
Okay. You know what? Let me try my headset. 1 sec.
I didn't get
any better?
Yeah, a lot better. Stay close to that mic. Go ahead.
Yes, this is Teresa Kennedy. I'm with the state of Louisiana, and I am new. Last night I signed up to the National Liberty Alliance, and I have already ordered 12 of the books, and I'm excited about being here, and I'm ready to just study and learn. And I also spoke to our district coordinator. It was District 7, so it was Anthony Miley that I spoke to, and we had a good conversation. And I had only ever heard about NLA because of the group that I'm with. And you mentioned it earlier, very early in this call tonight, that Wednesday you're going to be talking with somebody from the group, and I am with the Republic for the United States of America. As a matter of fact, I am the Secretary of State for the Louisiana Free State. We don't know anything about doing it. We are just seat holders. We are really just holding the position until the Republic gets stood up and we can have lawful elections. I have no desire to keep the seat. I'm just doing my duty. And so I guess my question is, would you mind telling me who you're going to be talking to? Because I really, really wanted to, after talking with Anthony, try to get a handshake between our groups, because it is what you have here. I have been reading it voraciously, and it is exactly what is needed. I am in agreement. I haven't read one thing that I'm in disagreement with. This is exactly how we need to proceed, and I think we can kind of work hand in glove together with with your group, which and the Republic, which has been re-inhabited. In 2010, they actually did all the paperwork and submitted all the lawful requirements to re-inhabit the Republic. So the Republic has been in existence since 2010, but in parallel, and we call it the de jure Republic, and it's been in parallel with the de facto government, which is the corporation. And there is actually, our leadership has with the military is backing us. So I know that I had heard in one of your other, like I was listening to some of the archives earlier, and you also have some connections to the military. So I would imagine they would, would kind of back up the claim that the Republic for the United States of America is actually first and right. To be the civil authority that the military will back up when the time comes. We are peaceful. We are not militant. We're not out there, we're just biding our time. But time's growing short. You keep saying, you said it several times tonight, but, it'll be in a couple of months. Very quickly, we're going to, things are going to change. And we believe that too. It's imminent. And so I believe that we can be mutually beneficial between our two groups, and because I do know that the word is getting out. The Republic is growing exponentially, and I know that the NLA has all this information is going to be crucial for us to study and learn and get to know. And the committees of safety is something that y'all are light years ahead of us on that, and we would like to, kind of utilize what's there in order to prepare the states for when our republic is ready to go. I think that really the military is kind of waiting on the states to be ready before they move. Because the military has to have a civil authority. They can't just come in and take over. There has to be a civil authority, and the Republic for the United States of America is the civil authority that they are backing. So I want to get you the leadership of NLA and the leadership, which isn't me, but the leadership of the Republic. I can make sure that I get the right people to you. If that would be, I would love for you to talk to them. If you have any concerns or misgivings, or if there's any, I see the benefit of us joining, taking hands and joining forces, to work together, partner with each other. I think we could have this exponential, not so much growth, but progress. We can, make things happen. I feel like I'm rambling, but I want to make sure that you talk to the right people. So if you wouldn't mind, who are you talking to on Wednesday? And if you don't want to say, can I private message you with a contact or a name than somebody that I can get you with.
Let me respond to some of that.
Okay.
We're going to be talking first of all to Lieutenant Colonel Sandy. I don't know her last.
Perfect. Ready. Yes.
We were supposed to have a meeting this past weekend, and I guess some wires across. It never happened. We're bringing in our national leadership into the conversation, and if Lieutenant Colonel Sandy would like to do the same, of course, that's fine. I've been taking some notes. I've read a lot of stuff on the site, and I've also done some research, putting things together. I have a lot of questions, and so I'm not going to comment on anything concerning that until after the meeting. So I don't want to do anything prematurely, and I don't want to say things that that may not be correct or true. So we need to work that together. And then if we do find contradictions between the groups, as long as it could be reconciled one way or another. We don't have to agree on everything, but we have to agree on certain things that we cannot not, we have to agree on certain things. We do, the name of our group was specifically chosen for what it means, National Liberty Alliance. We're looking for alliances with as many groups as possible, but they have to be compatible, at least to the degree as far as the law is concerned. A lot of people are bringing in things and agendas that are not true to the law. They think it is, but it's not. They haven't researched deep enough, or they ran off of other people's teachings and didn't go and check them out. That's why everything we do, we plant our research on everything. If you read the books we wrote, you'll find that probably, I don't know, a fifth or let's say a fifth of the written word in there is really, footnotes, references, maybe less than that, maybe a sixth, but quite a bit of footnotes. We're very footnote heavy. So we put our sources from where we get our information from. Very few people do that. There's a book out there called The Excellence of the Common Law, written by, hold on, let me grab that book a second here, written by Brent Allen Winters. And when you go through his book, I was really impressed. I got a lot of information from his book on the common law and how things were in history and everything. But he's so heavily into footnotes, so I really appreciated that. He laid out his sources. So a lot of people don't do that, and so when I look into things, I want to, if I don't have the footnotes, they don't have the authorities, I do the best thing I can to dig them out, and I've done some of that already, so I'm kind of ready for the meeting, and we'll see if we can't work together. We have connected with We the People, Robert Schultz. He's been around for quite some time. His organization goes, I joined in with his organization back in 1999, and it goes back further than that, I believe. But so he's been around for quite some time. He's got a good plan going on. I don't think it's really necessary to go as far as he's going, but I'm good with it because he's constitutional, we're compatible, and we can work together. We're working also with the GR, with the Republic Review. Again, the GR has done tremendous amounts of research, and so far I've only found one thing I disagree with him on it, but it's not anything that's going to disconnect us from working together. I'm going to try to change his mind on things, or who knows, maybe he'll change my mind. I don't think so on this issue that we have a disagreement with, though. I've done a lot of research on that particular area. I don't believe that he has done a lot of research on that particular area, so I'm probably right. I'm pretty well convinced I'm right until I'm proven wrong. And, correction is grievous to those who have forsaken the way. It's a biblical principle, a biblical quote, and that's true really to all things. Why build upon a false foundation? If you discover a crack in the foundation, we've got to fix that. And if that means we've got to dig that foundation back up again and destroy everything above it to fix it, well, I guess we've got a lot of work to do. Because it just makes no sense to build upon a faulty foundation. But again, we're going to talk with the people of your group. We're going to see once what the nuts and bolts are, make sure we are compatible, that we're not contradictory to each other. Obviously, if we're contradictory to each other, that's a problem. But we'll see where we go. Again, we're all into working with other people. We do want other organizations. We also, joined Republic, and which is a different group, and that's led by Colonel. Goodness, what can we think of his last name?
McGregor.
McGregor, yes, McGregor. So Colonel McGregor, he's sort of the figurehead of that, and we joined up with them, and really, it's kind of really like another social media type, social group. What would you call it? A social, well, and I guess similar to Facebook, but it's different. And really, what they're trying to do is get a lot of organizations there to put out their information and offer it to the people. They'll have conversations on it and posted calendars of different events of different things we're doing and so on and so forth. So it sounds like it's pretty good. We'll see what happens. And again, we'll work with them because I don't see any contradictions. There are groups out there probably doing different things, different than us, but that's kind of disconnected from us by joining through with them with their process of whatever it is they're doing. It's like a social media type thing. So, okay, with that, I guess that's about all I have to say, but we'll see what happens. You could talk with Sandy and ask if you can come to that meeting. I don't mind. It's Jan, I think you said it's going to be on our Skype program, right? We're going to do that on Skype, Jan.
Yes, that'll be on Skype Wednesday at 3 in the afternoon Eastern Time.
Okay. So if you want to join into that, just talk with her, and, I don't care how many people she brings. More minds, the better it'll be.
Well, I will let her know that she can bring a few people. I'm not sure that I will be one of them, but if she would have me there, I would. I'm encouraged by everything you said. I don't disagree with any. I'm in agreement with everything you said. I'm going to go check out these organizations you partnered with myself, because so far everything I've seen with your group is fantastic. And I do think you're going to be very pleasantly surprised when you talk with Sandy, because we are aiming, we have the same mission. And so I am just delighted that I feel like we've got good things, mutually good things coming. Thank you.
Yep. We will need the telephone numbers of anybody you want to include in the call.
Phone numbers? Okay. I will let Sandy know.
Yes.
Okay.
No, let me know, or I won't know to add them to the call. And send it to email to Jan at nationallibertyalliance.org.
Jan? Okay.
Jan at nationallibertyalliance.org.
Okay. Alliance.org. I will get them from her and send them to you. Thank you so much.
Yep.
In a half hour. Okay, I guess we'll take our next caller then. Hang on a second here. Okay, next question, next caller. It looks like Nat, maybe, N-A-T. What state you from?
Yes, sir, I'm from Texas.
Okay, Nat from Texas. You got the mic. Go right ahead.
Yes, sir. So I'm in the Committee of Safety with Miss Andromeda and Dave.
Yep.
For Texas, and I spoke with you probably a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And what I did, I took your advice, and I did begin to start taking courses. I did purchase that course for $125.
Okay, that's the court access and the common law. That's a 90-hour.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. Another thing, I was able to get the proper paperwork, and I have the paperwork, the affidavit, to file to the courts to get them off of me, as far as what they were doing with the illegal ways they were, now operating as far as the constitutional law work. I had a question. Would you be willing to give me a next friend, Mr. John?
Would I be willing to what?
Give me help me with a next friend.
Well, you have to get someone who. Well, why would you need a next friend? You're not in jail or anything, right? So, a next friend is someone who talks on your behalf and has the power and the authority to an affidavit on your behalf, swearing that they know all of the situations and that they've had discussion with the individual who is usually incarcerated, and that's why a next friend is necessary. A next friend could also be maybe if you're taking care of the business of your spouse or your children or something like that too. But why do you think you need a next friend? And that's a federal rule. But the law, the common law permits people to go in and practice law without having to sign up to any club like the Bar Association, which they claim is a license, but it's only really a membership card. It has nothing to do with that. They can't give a license to anybody. But you don't need to practice law because it is a unalienable right to be able to go into our courts and practice it. As a matter of fact, judges don't belong in a court of law. They're banned from courts of law. They can't go in there and make any decisions or summary decisions or anything of that nature. But we can't get that applied at this point in time. But it will be applied on the other side once we get our paper filed.
Okay, so I have the paperwork to file with the court.
What do you think? Why do you think you might need a next friend? What's your thinking?
To make sure that I'm able to file the proper paperwork and to also kind of be my support just in case I'm put in a position where I can't represent myself. And for the most part, I'm still a babe at this, so I really can't represent myself right now.
Yeah, I understand, and that is the problem for most people.
I don't know how any of the paperwork or how to do anything properly. I'm still studying.
I understand that. It takes time to learn this stuff. And, you could go through things very, very quickly, but you're not going to be able to really execute those things that you've gone through very quickly. That takes time. And a couple of things, you have to get a little experience because we're in the school of hard knocks. You could learn off the hard knocks of other people by listening to their stories and their situations and what they went through and what they learned from that. And then, of course, you can build upon that. But there's going to be a lot of hard knocks you're going to go through in order to learn the process and really get involved. And one of the biggest deficits that people have is the ability to write correctly. And again, there's sort of a flow of language that you run through the courts, and if you start reading the papers that we've written, okay, and I think I'm sure I mentioned that in the course that to come on to our website, go to federal court cases, and come down to the against the case against the judiciary, okay, and again by reading these papers. You're going to get there's a sort of a flow of writing, and I can't explain what it is, but you'll pick up on it eventually by reading. We've gotten all kinds of papers in here, lots of memorandums. I went through this before, but by reading through these papers, really will give you a lot of information. And assistance on how to write. But you're right. Is this a criminal case?
But the case that I was dealing with right now.
Yeah, is this a criminal case or is it a civil case? Did you file a case or what?
It's a criminal case, and we did the challenge of jurisdiction, and we also did some as far as.
Is Andrew Media?
We even had a
Is Andrew Media help this?
Yeah, she took the initiative to help me. She wouldn't do it at first. I guess God touched her heart. She even got me a file on demand under tentative law, like cover or whatnot, the district court.
Right, well, look at, she's pretty good at, she understands quite a bit, and she's got some experience.
The intermediate is she's kind of ill, Mr. John, where she goes through a lot.
Yeah, what I can't, I am so overloaded, I can't take on personal cases or anything of that nature to begin with, and I'm out of state also. There's many reasons why I can't do that. But it is a shame that there aren't many people that really know the common law and could provide some assistance. Again, a lot of people are just learning this, and we're like babes working through this process. I can only give you the knowledge I've given the course and assist a little bit here or there, but I can't be a next friend or represent you in any way, assist you in that way as a next friend would.
Okay. Because I'm learning all the things that I need to learn as far as being a good common lawyer, and I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. I plan on, pressing the accelerator, because I want to bring up and touch the generation that's under me, and bring up a whole little nation full of these righteous little kids, little youngsters that's willing to uphold God's righteous laws, with their through experience and through, for free, kind of be a bridge in today's time. You know what I mean? So.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and again, the only thing I could do is give you some thoughts and ideas on your case, but that's it. So.
Okay. So I thank you.
All right. Thanks for the call. We'll take our next caller. Thanks, Nat. Okay, Ross, you got the mic. Go right ahead. How you doing, Ross?
I just recently heard of what Oklahoma just did on putting Bibles back in the schools in Oklahoma.
They brought the Bible back into the school in Oklahoma?
Yes, the state of Oklahoma.
Well, someone's going to challenge that, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, but it was done by the Oklahoma State Public Superintendent of Schools.
Oklahoma State's what?
Education Superintendent for the whole state of Oklahoma.
Okay.
He's the one who reinstated that in the schools.
Yeah, but there is a case, Ingle versus, I forget the who they're versing, but there is a case, Ingles versus somebody, that really in 1963 was the case that the United States Supreme Court ruled that the Bible and prayer must be removed from schools. And, of course, that was all unlawful. That's removing the king of the court. It's a major blow and destruction on our republic. And that is also one of the 21 points that need to be repaired in order to bring courts of justice back. Because if you remove from the education who the king of our court is, then you remove the king of our court, you removed his morals and moral teachings, you remove the common law. Everything's gone when you do that, because common law is built upon the Bible. It's built upon 8 biblical principles, which really lays out to 2 major points. Number one, that God has written the law in the hearts of men, so we all, innately know the law. We don't need anyone to tell us that stealing is wrong, killing is wrong, and many other things. We don't need anybody. We know when we see an individual has been injured and that there must be some kind of a remedy for that person. We know that. That's common sense. That is just innate in us. And common law really is nothing more than common sense. And God gave us that common sense. And He put the law in our heart to know these things. So That's where the law is. Everybody is capable of dealing with the law. Dealing with the due process procedures, what people need to learn, and they have to get rid of all of these cobwebs in their brain that prevents them from being truly liberated, mentally speaking, to know that the sovereign makes the law. And by the way, I'm sovereign. So that's the key, really, to sort of a mindset that people have to have in order to really go in and take control of a case. But you need experience in writing too, as I talked with the other caller concerning as far as going into the courts. But it's interesting that something is going on in Oklahoma with the Bible. Let me know how that goes, if anything comes up on that. Time is close anyway. I don't think there's much time for them to start a battle against that. So I do believe that next year the Bible is going to return into the schools. And they'll, we'll get into that discussion another time. We did look at that in the past. So.
Yeah, I just heard it today on the Beck program. He was talking to the superintendent of education superintendent of Oklahoma.
I'm sorry, I missed that last part. The what of Oklahoma?
The education superintendent.
Oh, okay. Education superintendent. Well, Trump is pushing back control of education back to the people, back to the states, and it belongs back to the people. Education needs to be controlled by the people within the community where the education is given. Particularly, of course, we're talking about the first 12 years of education. Colleges and universities is a little bit different. But as far as the education going to our children, that belongs to the people, which means we should be able to go to the board and exercise our right of government by consent by correcting and, if necessary, chastising these people on the board and forcing them to do the right thing and bring a proper education, a moral education, and to get rid of all this wokeness and all this other crazy stuff that is anti-people, that is anti-God, that is demoralizing our children. And we need to get true education. We need to educate our children not only on civics and the Constitution, but on the common law and how this nation was brought together, true history, true American history, and teach our children how to participate in government by consent and the duty that they have to participate in government by consent. After all, they're living in a nation where we have rights and the blessings of liberty through our Creator. So we have to teach our children these things. If they don't know who the king of the court is, then all is lost. Right now, the king of our courts are tyrants. They're men, tyrant men. That's the king of our courts right now. But
yeah.
Anything else, Ross?
I think another problem is with the education system throughout our United States is controlled by the American Education Association and Federation of Teachers and all those people.
Yep.
Means we need to kick the unions out.
Yeah, it seems to be all stuff. Yep, I see that.
Yes.
Yes. Look, I've given a little thought to this. I need to give more thought. I've given some thought of curriculum to go into the schools, and it'll be up to the people to bring that and push that into their schools. We need to teach our children a proper mindset. How you go about teaching teachers how to teach a mindset is another problem or question. Again, a lot of teachers these days, particularly, they have these hidden agendas. And what I think, the only way to correct our problems in the schools and to make sure that our children are not being demoralized is really by, let's put cameras in the school and put them up on the internet and allow access to individuals who have children in that classroom to be able to go out on the internet and take a look and listen and see what's going on in the classroom of your children from time to time. I know that there are nurseries and different places that have set up that kind of a system, and that's a really good protection for the children to prevent abuse. And I think it's something that we really should start thinking about. I think I'll try to write a paper on that, and maybe people will bring that out into the committees of safety for discussion. And maybe that's one of the other things we're going to want to do in our schools. I'm definitely going to push that issue now that I'm thinking about it right here in my county, and see if we can get the committees of safety to agree with that. All of the members, I'm sure they will, and then meetings that we'll have with their parents of children within the school districts when we meet with them within the various school districts, and then go to the board to bring correction to them and bring them back under the will of we the people. This is what we want our children to be learning and being taught. This is what we don't want them to be taught. And either you fix the problem, or you resign, or we'll remove you. And that's the choices they have. So anyway, education will return back to the people.
Okay, I yield.
Okay, thank you. All right, before we take our next call, I'm going to push for the mic. Hang on a minute. Okay, PW before, or FW it looks at. What's your first name and state?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, first name.
Okay. Hi, this is Frosini Wiley, and I'm in New York.
Hang on one second before you start. I just want to cover something real quick. Let's see. I just want to bring this forward on our paper, the presentment that we're going to be filing. I want to just go through the list very quickly on who we're going to be copying. If anybody could think of anyone that really should be copied, maybe they could send that name of that individual and possibly their mailing address if they can. I mean, we'll find that anyway. To mail, MAIL at National Liberty Alliance. But these are the people we're copying this particular case with. Of course, just real quickly, this is a grand jury presentment to the United States Supreme Court. This is a national emergency, an extraordinary presentment, and an extraordinary indictment upon the federal judiciary. Now, we read through this a week or two ago, but here's the list of people that we're going to copy beyond the members of the Supreme Court. President Trump, Tom Fitton, Donald Trump Jr., Robert F. Kennedy, Senator Mike Lee, Senator Ted Cruz, Senator John Kennedy, Senator Rand Paul, and Senator Josh Hawley, Congressman Mike Johnson, Congressman Jim Jordan, Congressman Marjorie Taylor, Congressman Matt Gaetz, or Gates, I think it is, Congressman Steve Scalise, Congressman Andy Briggs, Congressman Chip Roy, Congressman Eli Crane, Congressman Corey Mills, and Congressman Jim Banks. Now, all those people I had chosen because I've been following them, and they've been really very active on trying to go after these crazies, particularly in the court system. All these judges that are coming up there, as far as the senators are concerned. But these people have really been standing up for what our republic should be. So if anybody can think of anybody that's not on this list and should be on that list, send me that information. I'll look into it and then maybe add their name to this list. So with that said, back to you, Francini.
Okay, hi. So it's going to maybe sound like basic questions, but listening in, I didn't start at the total beginning. I think I came in around 9:30, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating something. But when I came in, you were answering someone who was, I think, talking about land patents, and basically you're saying a couple things. One, wait, because this should turn around in a matter of months. And even if it does, my question was...
Well, if it doesn't, we will be in the court hardcore. The Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury will go into the court hardcore on that, because we got to get courts of justice back, and we cannot accept anything less. And courts of justice means courts of law, and courts of law has to be obedient to the Constitution, and taxes on property is unlawful. You don't own your property. If they tax your property, and if you don't pay it, they're going to take it away from you.
That's correct, yeah. And, speaking of the courts have to be, based on law, I don't have it in front of me, but I was reading something recently that early on the Supreme Court ruled, more than once that this was a Christian nation. And I don't even understand how this, and anything that is for instance, any statute that's contradictory to the Constitution is null and void. So how did the Supreme Court rule to remove Bibles and biblical teaching from education when was it the Decatur, something like that, the original education law, or one of the originals, my understanding was
the very first law that was stated in the United States here, the very first law, and signed by President Washington, was concerning the Bible and prayer in school.
Well, and I thought it was like to ensure that kids that would, towns larger than X size would have public education and would, guarantee that they would get a biblical education. That was the purpose of it, as I understood it, of public education. So again, it comes back. One of my questions is, how in the world did the Supreme Court in 1963 actually rule to remove the Bible? And that's very, very concerning, because everything else that we do, and then that leads to my other question was, devolution aside, how did people succeed in reversing land, getting their land patents properly recorded, or, the taxes, like what you were able to accomplish with a lot of problems, and others have too, a lot have not. How did, if it's that unwinnable, because, and you were, saying, aside from devolution, that it's that unwinnable, how in the world did anyone get this done?
It is unwinnable because they don't obey the law. The law is crystal clear, but they ignore it and they don't obey it. Look at the prince and power of the air. Leviathan rules this world, and that is expressed probably best in the New World Order. They're Satan worshippers to begin with. They literally are Satan worshippers, and to them Christianity is repugnant. To them, the Republic is repugnant. To them, anybody who thinks that they could be free and independent in this world, which is their world, that's how they think. They own this world. They think they're the rulers of this world. These people are totally insane and lost in their immorality, so bad that this is what they want. And so
yeah, but they're getting it by and large. I mean, if it's that quote unquote unwinnable, and I understand, I think it is.
Now it's unwinnable now, but
I know. But then, like up till now, why? How has anybody won?
It's very simple. Look at, if you want to keep the slaves, you got to keep them ignorant. Don't let them to learn to read and write. That is the premise of slavery. You can't allow them. That's why when slavery was running here in the colonies, and even into some of the states after the Constitution was eventually done away with, but it was against the law to teach a slave to read and write. Jefferson spoke about this. He couldn't teach his slaves to read and write. He was upset about that. But the bottom line is that we are ignorant. We, the people, have fallen asleep. So a lot of this is our own fault, of course, going back generations, and we've continued in that. But even today, now that you're trying to get people to move, to do the right thing, you're trying to give them the education, they still kind of don't want it. Maybe not that they realize that they don't want it, but they don't want to spend the time, put the effort in. Why? Because they've been trained. They're trained how to think. They're trained how to act. They're trained. If you got a godly problem, a religious problem, or a moral problem, or whatever the case may be, they teach you, well, you got to go find yourself a priest or a pastor or something. If you have a legal problem, they train you to go find yourself a lawyer, a bar attorney. So you go.
Yeah, but it seems like, I mean, look, what I'm saying is, it's so difficult for an individual to do it, then it's basically saying you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you do need a lawyer.
Well, look, you don't have a choice to not have a birth certificate. You don't have a choice to not have a Social Security number. You don't have a choice to not have a driver's license. There's a lot of things you don't have a choice of, and it's wrong, and it needs to be fixed and repaired, but there's nothing you could do about it. Because, yes, you are stuck between a rock and a hard place. We are in bondage. Isaiah 14 speaks about this. We are in bondage to the New World Order, to Leviathan, to the prince and power of the air, the place in this world, the one who runs this world, who won it by reason of conquest. Okay, so we're in bondage to the New World Order, and they have created so many statutory prisons you can't escape. You just can't escape, but we're about to be set free. Okay, and that of course is through devolution, and that's where we're at today. So when we get to the other side, now it's up to the people. I'll tell you what, if the people think and this is a Jefferson quote with my own little twist in it, if people expect to be ignorant and free, forget about it. It's not going to happen. They expect what never was and never will be. It's not going to happen. So when we get onto the other side of devolution and we are given back our nation, the control of our nation, to have the right to have government by consent. If you don't know how to have government by consent, if you don't know how to take back the judicial process, if you don't know how to take back the political process, if you don't know when they're breaking the law and when they're not breaking the law, and if you don't know how to do a recall and to take these people out of power, all these things you have to know. Look at our heritage is in the law, and our inheritance is liberty. Okay, but you cannot have your liberty, your inheritance, because your heritage has been stolen from you, and you don't know it because you don't know the law. I've had people who would make arguments with me thinking, oh, you can't, they don't give you speeding tickets or you can't enforce those laws. That's crazy. Well, they don't understand. They just don't understand. And it's too difficult for them to understand. Why? Because we've been really brainwashed all of our lives. So therein is the problem. And
okay, so let me just ask you these two, hopefully quick last questions about this. So devolution, two things. One, again, how is that going to be, how are the reversals and the corrections going to be implemented, first of all? Second of all, with any kind of speed to really correct things, because there's going to be so many to cover. And secondly, if it depends on us knowing how to do recalls and this, that, and the other thing, and people have to learn that, then it's not going to be automatic, and it might not be speedy.
Right. It may take generations to really correct the problem. Particularly our children or anybody under 30 or even 40 maybe. I don't know how long the education has been so defunct. But look, things can happen. I listen to Trump, and I kind of understand certain things that I can see very quickly. A lot of things can be fixed very quickly. The economy can be repaired super fast. Okay, just by moving the whole system back to legal money, which is gold and silver. He's already seized all the gold. He's already set the path for moving that over to a proper money system, a lawful money system, a constitutional money system. That's all set and ready to go. It's going to happen very quickly. There's going to be a lot of encouragement for a lot of companies to move back into the United States. Many have a while back, but there's still many companies that need to come back, and they'll be encouraged to do so. It'll happen. As far as the court system, that is probably the biggest problem, and a problem that I don't know of anybody working to repair it. Tom Fenton is doing a good job in what he's doing, but he still is statutory. He still is a bar attorney. He still has an improper mindset. He doesn't understand the common law. He doesn't really know who we are as a people. And I'm so surprised that none of those people know that, but they don't know that. The information necessary to learn that is out there, but it's not taught in schools. And people, when people come out of school, anybody who is successful realizes that once you come out of school and get into the working, thing, getting out there and doing whatever it is that you're going to do for a living, well, your education just really has begun. Okay, because you have to start exercising and working that education that you've learned and apply it to the real world and really learn off that. And you're going to trip a lot. You're going to make some mistakes, but if you continue to pursue it, you'll be successful. So, but that is the mission of National Liberty Alliance, is to repair the courts. That is the purpose of the presentment that we're looking at right now, right here, that we've read part of it last week. This paper will be posted up. It's about 160 pages altogether, and it'll be. We're looking to file that. Right now. I'm looking. I was going to file it at the end of this week. I pushed it another week or so away. I'm going to file it at the end of the month, and once I file that, I'll make notification. This paper will be up to be read. People can go through it, and they should learn from this, and they'll see how it is that we are prepared to take back our courts. We put some really, really strong language at the very end of this paper, so strong that I'm even second guessing on whether I want to leave it in there or not. I did talk with Gerard about this, and he said, no, leave it in. It's appropriate. Maybe I'll read that last paragraph in the beginning of next Monday's open forum, and get the opinion of people. I know we're at the end, so we'll have to take. I see more people jumped into the queue. We'll get to everybody.
Yeah, John, it's 10:54, and we've got 3 people left.
Okay, well, I'm going to take John, and then we'll have to end it for the evening until next week. So anyway, Francino, we're going to move on to the next caller. But that's where education is the key. National Liberty Alliance is working hardcore on this process. Once this paper is filed, we'll get on to the other side of devolution. I think things will be working out, and if not, we'll be pursuing it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to take our last call. I see Michael's here, but I just not going to be able to get to everybody this week. Well, maybe we'll see how long John's going to be. John, you got the mic.
Yeah, thank you, John. Just a second here. I thought I had something interesting happen today. I got a letter from a lady that I was talking to about that, and it was sent non-domestic for 2 cents.
Yeah.
There's a difference between U.S. Post Office and U.S. Postal Service, and this one from the U.S. Post Office, and you can send a letter for 2 cents.
Yeah, the law is still 2 cents. That's never been changed. You can do it. They will fight it. They will send it back if they pick up on it. I have mailed letters with stamps that aren't even 2 cents. They're just silly stamps, children's stamps. I mean, they go through because they, first of all, their stamps, they got so many different stamps and so many different things, and a lot of them don't even say what the worth is, and they can't because they print them out and they're constantly raising the prices. But the law has never been changed. Nobody's had the authority to change that law, and I believe it's 2 cents. It's still 2 cents. You can buy 2 cent stamps, and you can mail letters, but some of them might come back. Mail them again. Probably eventually get through anyway.
Yeah. I just thought that was interesting. If, like I say, there's a difference between U.S. Post Office and U.S. Postal Service, and this is obviously going through the Post Office.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know, the U.S. Post Office is being managed by a foreign corporation out of Canada. It's not even run in this country, in our nation. And, of course, that is unlawful, too. I mean, everything they do is unlawful. But, yeah, and they waste so much money. To mail a letter, what is it, 73 cents now? It's insane.
I'm not sure. Quite a bit. Well,
pretty sure it's 72 or 73 cents, yeah. And I was just looking into mailing of postcards. To mail a postcard is 72 or 73 cents. Unbelievable. You have to get a permit to really get a good deal if you're going to send out a lot of postcards, which we're going to be talking about that also in the near future, for communications to individuals within certain, within their respective, education, what would you call it, their school districts.
Right.
And
just try to postcard. Send a few of them out. Just write non-domestic on it and put a 2 cent stamp on it. See if it goes through.
Oh, it'll go through in most cases, but not all cases. Sometimes they'll return to you. It's just that they're not picking it up with their machines. That's all. You don't even have to put nothing on. Just put a stupid stamp on it. You can buy, 1,000 stamps, child stamps or something. Little stamps. Just put it on. It'll go through. Or go out and buy 2 cent stamps. Let's give them 2 cents.
Well, it's not canceled.
But again, a lot of them may come back. I don't know, you know. But I have sent them out too, and other people have sent mail to me that way, and I've gotten it. And, you know, it's interesting. So.
All right. Well, interesting. I yield. Thank you.
Thanks, John. All right, we'll take our last caller here. Only got a few minutes. Looks like from Michigan. Michael from Michigan. You got the mic.
Hey, John. This is Mike in Michigan. We haven't talked in a while. I sat in a group tonight, and I just wanted your opinion. They're declaring that that they settled Michigan in the common law by a common law grand jury, and two of the points that they made clear during their presentation as I listened was only they were the only group recognized by the military, and secondly, recognized by the Hague Court. Do you have any opinion on that?
I don't want to be recognized as the grand jury by the Hague Court.
No.
We want to be recognized by the Constitution. And look, at a lot of people are saying a lot of things and teaching a lot of things and making a lot of claims. And in some cases and situations I have knowledge of and know it's BS. In other cases, I perceive it's probably BS. People say things that aren't necessarily true. They make claims of success that's not necessarily that they have had success. We've tried to be as honest as we could with that kind of thing. We've made the point that we've only had a couple of successes out of hundreds and hundreds of cases and papers filing that we've only had maybe I think we had 2 habeas corpuses that were successful, and they wasn't even successful lawfully. They just threw the case out, ended the case without any reason why and moved on. So that's a success, but it's not a recorded success. And why they did it was maybe fear. Maybe they got frightened by our paperwork. Maybe not. Maybe God tugged on their strings. I don't know. But so success. We've also had maybe a couple of court cases, and I say a couple, I mean 2. Not many. Maybe that we've had a success where people backed off of these non-judicial foreclosures. But generally speaking, out of hundreds and hundreds of cases, they ignore us, they remain silent, they give no reasoning about what they're doing, and they don't care because there's no fear, there's no repercussion, there's no penalty that they think is going to be applied to them. They get a pass, and
I recognize you're at the end of the program here, but I'll go back to that first thing. The only group, this is Michigan, the only group, I don't know if they're talking nationally or what, but recognized by the military.
They're making a claim. They're making a claim in their mind, and I don't believe it. The military may be looking at that, maybe doing something about it, but again, they're resting on that also because they're really not going to push too hard until devolution plays out. Although they have pushed on a few things. Look at Roe versus Wade, I think was something that the military pushed through. The Second Amendment decisions by the United States Supreme Court, I think that's something maybe the military put a little pressure on them for that. And the pressure could be not necessarily a threat to them, but maybe saying, look, we're going to protect you, because maybe there's a fear of doing the right thing up on the United States Supreme Court. That could be the problem. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So, who knows with that? But no, there's no state that has got it all together because of some claim, and nothing is being, to my knowledge, is being really won in any kind of heavy cases. And the court system in itself is not going to permit anything but a controlled grand jury and a controlled trial jury. Once in a while,
right, John. They use the word settled. We're the only one that settled Michigan. That's
yeah. Well, whatever settled means, it doesn't mean
right.
Execution of the law in righteousness. So settled in the sense that they've settled their paperwork. look, we don't have to settle any paperwork. We have to remove these people. We have the right to get rid of these people and put in new guards. And that's what National Liberty Alliance through the Unified United States Common Law Grand Jury is working on, to replace the guards, we're working particularly in the courts, because Trump is working in the political realm. And he's going to take out a lot of judges anyway. So, but whatever's left over, we're going to deal with, and we need to make sure that we're returned back to the republic that we were meant to be.
Okay, John, I appreciate your time and your explanation on that.
All right, thanks, Mike. Okay, that brings us to the end of our program. Thanks, everyone, for coming. Lord willing, we'll see you next Monday. And next Monday, like I said, we're going to start looking into some things concerning the committees of safety and proper structuring, and we're going to start off with resolutions, and we're going to move into charters. We're going to talk about a plan with the sheriff, how to take back the school districts, get into all of those details. Rick will want those to take back the different boards, town boards, village boards, school boards, and return back to a government that's obedient to the people. So we'll be talking about, hopefully, for the next couple of months. So spend at least a half hour on something, and then have open forums after that. Okay, good night, everybody.
Blessings.